This is the third Tuesday of the month Waupaca City Council meeting.
Going on this, I call this meeting to order, and we'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God. And we'll ask Sandy to read the open meeting statement for us.
This meeting and all meetings of the Common Council are open to the public. Proper notice has been posted and given to the press in accordance with Wisconsin state statutes, so the citizens may be aware of the time, place, and agenda of this meeting.
And also take roll for us.
Brian Smith.
Here.
Steve Hackett. Here. Lori Chestnut. Here. Paul Hagan. Ellen Keeland.
Here.
Scott Perchatsky.
Here.
Dave Peterson.
Here.
Paul Mayo. Chuck Whitman.
Here.
Mary Thayer. Here. And Eric Olson.
Here.
8 present, we have quorum.
Next on the agenda is the consent agenda. This is where we put a lot of our administrative items on here, and we take one motion and vote on that unless council or staff feels that they would want to have more detail and vote on that as a separate item. Otherwise, we would be looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda as printed. So moved.
Second.
Motion by Keelan, second by Chestnut, that we approve the consent agenda as printed. Discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Against? Motion carried. Then we have our regular agenda. Again, no additions or changes to the regular agenda, so we would be looking for a motion to approve the regular agenda. Second. Motion by Hackett, second by Peterson, that we approve the regular agenda as printed. Discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. Okay, under announcements, we have a presentation by Tim Wiltz, who is a candidate for Waupaca County Sheriff. Tim, if you want to just step up to the podium, please.
Thank you, Mayor, Councilman, for letting me come here and speak briefly. I won't take up too much of your time, because I know you guys are busy. But I'd like to, again, explain, I am Tim Wills. I'm running for Sheriff of Waupaca County. I've been with Waupaca County for 24 years. I started as a corrections officer. I was transferred to transport and then patrol. Ultimately, I've been a patrol sergeant for now 12 years. I'm in charge of all of our training coordinator as well. I'm also the boat patrol, snowmobile patrol, and ATV patrol coordinator. As well as now I'm also a supervisor. I supervise patrol officers to make sure everything is done properly on shift. And a background investigator. Just want to talk a little bit about my platform. School right now, school safety is the biggest concern in the United States, as well as it is in Waupaca County. What I suggest we do is continue school safety, working closely with all city officers and all local police departments. What we need to do is never assume that it's shut the book, we're all done with school safety. We need to continue school safety. We never really consider what's going to happen when these shooters decide not to just get into the schools where the kids are locked in. We need to figure out what they're going to do when the school kids come outside and the shooters are waiting. Are they going to be waiting in the buses? Are they going to be waiting in trees, hillsides, whatever? We need to figure that out, work closely with each other. We need to also, the last time we had active shooter was 7 years ago, and we're going to do it, I believe, next month for the first time in 7 years. What we need to do is consistently do this once a year. I know it's costly on the police departments. What we need to do is, if we have to, schedule it, pull the patrol officers off the road, run them through, and then back out on the road. Also, we need to talk about workplace violence. Workplace violence is also an area where we have bullies, drug use. We need to educate the administrators of the workplace, personnel, supervisors, and of course the employees. How do you report these things without being putting your life in danger? Thirdly, what I plan on doing is elected sheriff biannually having meetings throughout the county, having my staff with me. Would it be corrections officer, dispatcher, patrol sergeant, myself, talk about what we're doing at the sheriff's office, what we're going to do, show transparency, how we're spending your money, and you as citizens can tell us your concerns. Facebook is good, but it's only kind of a one-sided thing. You can't really talk about what you really mean, and that's something that I will do. Secondly, we have a drug issue in Waupaca County, and we all know that. When we arrest our way through drugs, we have drug officers right now that are working 20 hours a day sometimes. They're getting some successful arrests, but we need to think about education as well. Also, we need to find a better process of our budget. We need to examine our budget and make it more efficient. Waupaca County, we need to not so much go after all of our needs, our wants. We need to go after needs only. If we got something we want, unless it's a safety issue with the citizens of Waupaca County or the officers, it can wait until we budget it. And if it can't be budgeted, then we don't need it. So that's basically what I got. I appreciate you letting me present this. Is there any questions at all?
Terry, good luck to you. I appreciate the comments about working with communities. I think, the sheriff's department and the local police departments obviously work hand in hand together, and we hope that will continue and even get better.
Right.
So, yeah.
Appreciate that. And another thing, the sheriff's office needs to show accountability. They need to show consistent fairness and transparency. We really do. Right now, it seems like no one knows what we're doing. That's something that I'm going to actually show the county this is what we're all about. Because without the community, we're not as good as we should be without the community support.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, and
Appreciate
good
it.
luck to you.
Thanks.
All right, let's go on. We have a proclamation. We all know that August in Waupaca is going to be deemed Arts Appreciation Month, so we have a proclamation which I'm going to read into the record, so bear with me. Whereas the Waupaca community has a long history of volunteers coming together to promote the arts and arts appreciation from a few dedicated people working to provide artistic exposure to the community, to our arts community has grown to include a very sizable arts community and many different arts organizations and arts-related businesses of all kinds. Whereas the arts are not only to provide entertainment, self-expression, and community building, but also to create environment that promote innovation, curiosity, ingenuity. Exposure to many different kinds of artistic expression stimulates the development of creative solutions to both new and old challenges and a thinking outside the box mentality that is so vitally needed in today's world. Whereas the many different arts organizations and art-related businesses in our area enhance our economy, bring in many tourist dollars, and make our community a more vital, robust, and dynamic place to live and visit. Our active arts community is a wonderful human complement to the natural beauty for which we have long been known. Whereas it is more than appropriate to honor and celebrate a dynamic and thriving artistic community with the month of August as Arts Appreciation Month. Now therefore, I, Brian Smith, Mayor of the City of Waupaca, do hereby proclaim the month of August as Arts Appreciation Month launching yet another entire year of arts endeavors by our creative community. And I'll sign that, we'll put it on record. Of course, we have the Arts on the Square, which is what, August 17th?
18th,
18th, August 18th.
17th and 18th, actually.
There we go. All right, thank you, Mary. All right, let's go on then. We have a certificate of appreciation to Emily Heidemann for her 5 years of service to the city of Waupaca. Emily's not here, but give this to Peg, and Peg, if you would please give that to her. What a slave driver. You couldn't even let her off for a couple of minutes? Wow. And then, we know he's here tonight. We have a presentation of certificate to Henry Veliker for his 20 years of service to the city. 20 years as our city administrator, city clerk. Henry?
Mayor?
Thanks. Make some
Appreciate it.
comments at all, or?
Well, I do have some prepared remarks.
Okay, thank you.
3 minutes or less.
No, I discussed this with Loretta. She said, just shut up and just say one sentence or two. So I listen to my wife usually. I want to say thanks. It's been a great time here with the city. We've got a great team together. It all starts with the council. You work well together. You respect each other. And I think everything we all try to do is to make Waupaca a better place. And I'm just glad to be a part of it. And I really thank you for giving me that opportunity. Paul and Dick the mayor were the only two that are still on council that hired me.
So it's our fault.
Yeah. But anyways, thank you all, and I really appreciate all your support.
And I
Oh,
left
that's
and then
right.
I
You
came
were on there
back.
too. Absolutely. You
Yes.
came off council.
Came back.
Well, thanks,
Never mind.
Henry.
3 of you.
Thanks for your 20 years and looking forward to many years to
20 more.
continue.
Not 20 more?
All right, let's move on then. We have a public input time of the day and for our meeting. These are to citizens and council members and staff that would like to speak to council on a non-agenda item. So as long as it's not on our agenda, you have the opportunity to step up to the podium, give your name and address for the record. Please limit your time to 3 minutes or less.
My name is Kate Frigo-Drury. My address is N1695 Patrick Lane. That's in Waupaca, Wisconsin. Technically the town of Dayton. So I hope that I'm okay to speak here, and I will keep my comments to 3 minutes. But basically the reason I'm here is because there's somebody who's posted a sign in front of my child's daycare. And the sign is really bothering me. The sign, I don't know the exact language, but it has some words to the effect of, if you have a problem with me, bring your ass up to my door, your own damn self. Now, this is a sign that's relatively large, and it's on a corner lot at the intersection of 9th and Royalton Street. The way this sign is positioned, it's not positioned on the corner that would probably give people driving by maximum exposure to see the sign. It's posted right in front of the daycare driveway. So when you're coming up and down that daycare, you see that sign all the time. And, for the first couple of weeks that it was up, I'm a defense attorney by trade, so I'm a big proponent of freedom of speech. And I thought, okay, go for it. Let's have your speech heard. But it's been up now for over a month. And I just think that the sign is profane. I think that the sign is threatening. And I think that speech isn't protected. I also think that it violates a Waupaca city ordinance. I mean, it looks like there's a city ordinance on the book. It's 17.310 sub 1. And this kind of says that, yes, you can have signs posted on your property, but they have to follow certain guidelines. You can have a warning sign on your property, but the guideline there is that the sign has to be restricted 1 foot by 1 foot, and this just isn't that. So I guess the reason I'm here today is to voice concern over that, and I want to make you all aware of that. I think that it should be taken down or removed. and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you had for me.
Thank you. I know that staff, our development director is aware of that. I also know that our chief of police is aware of that too. We had quite a lengthy discussion actually this afternoon. My grandchildren use daycare there too, so I agree with you. If there's something we can do to make this sign go away, we certainly will. And like I said, Brennan, I don't know if you have a plan in place at this time that you can just share with council, since this has been brought up.
We have sent out a notice to the landowner, and actually as of late this afternoon, we did receive a phone call back that he would like to at least talk with our department. I spoke with the chief late this afternoon, and we plan to have a joint conversation as there's multiple issues, not just affecting planning and zoning or chapter 17, but there's some other issues out there as well that have been brought to our attention or the police department's attention. So our intention is to have a meeting hopefully sometime next week with the landowner.
Okay, so for turnaround time, we should just wait and see, and if it rolls around and
We have another meeting set for August 7th, so if you don't feel like we're moving in the right direction, we'll see you again August 7th.
okay, yeah, I'm sure that won't be the case. That's a good day. It's my
Right.
birthday, so hopefully by then that'll be my birthday present to myself. Not that that's fine. Thank you for listening to me. Is there something else you need?
Can I have your contact?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay, any other public input? I know you guys are just here to listen. All right. Anybody else have any public input on any other items? All right, let's move on then. Let's go to department heads report, and we have, as always, we'll start on the left, my left, Kathy.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, council members. My report starts on page 4 of the packet. Again, we have put out a notice for the water utility of an effective 3% rate increase with the July meter reading. We had filed this notice earlier this year, but due to a technical issue, it was not put in place. So it has been approved now by the PSC, the Public Service Commission, and will go effective on the August bill. And this is just on the water portion, the usage portion. It's not on any of the other fees, so it should be minimal at best. We're continuing to work on the 2019 budget worksheets, getting them updated so that we can get them out to the departments for review. I will be meeting with R.W. Baird, our city financial advisors, as soon as the departments have all of their capital planning items in the planet budget, so I can see where we are for debt service going forward. We put together the U.S. Bank purchasing card program because of the change in the program from JP Morgan Chase. So I've got that out to some of the departments, finishing up with the remaining ones this week for training on how to do the online reporting. Again, this is a state program, and the rebate is over 2%. So we're looking at probably over $20,000 in rebate with the spend that we have on the card. Barb Robert from my office is currently attending the Clerks Institute at UW Green Bay this month. She is in her second year of a 3-year program. Her attendance is part of a cross-training with the clerks department to make sure that there's backup for Sandy's position. And then last month I had the pleasure of presenting at the Wisconsin City Managers Association Summer Conference, and I was on a topic of budget presentation and development. So that was really well received by the group there. Otherwise, I don't have anything else. Somebody has a question for me.
Thank you, Kathy. Yeah, go ahead.
Kathy, the little paper we had laid on our desk, you said it's just the volume charge increase for the water, not the service charge?
Yeah.
This states it's both, so I
It is
just
both?
clarifying. Is
Okay.
it is just volume though?
I thought it was supposed to be volume. I haven't looked at the full rate thing.
Oh,
But if it is up, I didn't get a copy of that.
oh, okay. Well,
So, but yeah, it was a 3%, and I thought it was supposed to be just on the volumetric. I didn't think it was going to be on the service charge, but I can double check with
okay.
that.
Our notification says service charge and volumetric.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Kathy. Appreciate it. Let's go to the library. Peg.
Thank you and good evening. We have over 800 people signed up for our summer library program, and our goal to become that place for learning outside of school is really happening. And despite the parking issue, we've had a lot of visitors to the library. Our exhibit room is exploring the decades with games and activities associated with certain decades in our past. So stop by and play a couple of songs on our jukebox for $1. You get 2 songs. So we hope to see you in the library. This Thursday, we have our Third Thursday musical. It's La La Land. So if you haven't seen that or you have seen it and you want to see it again, it's at 6 o'clock. And there will be popcorn and lemonade. We also have Sounds at the Depot that's happening this coming Saturday, and that is in association with the Historical Society. So come in and see the trains and look at the historic depot, and then also we have a performer that are going to be featuring railroad songs, so you'll come for that. Tomorrow, we have Science Fun with Mr. J, and he's a science educator that comes in and does some really fun experiments that makes learning fun, so that's coming. Also, on August 9th, we have a new author who has a visit. Her name is Carla Ernst, and she's written a book, Life Without Pockets. As a trans woman, she is coming to our library to kind of help people understand what it's like to live as a transgender person. So that one is at 6:30 p.m. on the 9th of August. Hope you join us.
Thank you, Peg. Questions, comments? Peg? Thank you. Let's move over to Brennan.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. My report's on page 55 of the packet. Some positive news that we have going on right now actually, is we're going to see a lot of development starting to occur here in the next couple months. We sold 2 more lots in Buffalo Ridge, so there will be a new house going out there, probably starting within the next couple months. There's another house that is going to be under construction here shortly out in Cap Services. So that is going to be moving forward. The apartment project out in Cap Services will be beginning within the next month. I spoke with our consultants late this afternoon, and our regional detention basin will be going out to bid here in the next couple weeks. Can expect construction to start at the end of August, early September. We're anticipating the second meeting in August to bring that contract forward for construction. Last week at the Plan Commission meeting, the Old Jansen Restaurant, new proposed Dollar General was approved by the Plan Commission, so they are currently going through some revisions on their engineering and site design. That project will be probably starting construction here in the next couple months. The highway garage for the Waupaca County will be starting construction probably in August, with grading work out there as well. So our department's definitely going to be busy over the next 6 to 12 months with some very large projects moving forward. And on the other, we did have our kickoff meeting last week for our branding and wayfinding study, and our consultants from Texas will be in Waupaca right around August 15th through the 19th or 20th. So that it's going to cross over when Arts on the Square and the triathlon are here. I want to thank the committee thus far. It's going to be exciting 5 or 6 days when they are in town. So don't be surprised, staff or council members, if I need some assistance on some steering committees or interviews. So more information to follow on that.
All right. Thanks, Brennan. Any questions? Comments for Brennan? All right, let's move over to Public Works. Justin.
Thank you, Mayor. My update can be seen on page 57 and 58 of the packet. We received our new pickup trucks. So wastewater department got their new one and street department got their new one. And we transferred over the one pickup back to Park and Rec, and then online got moved into our old facilities truck. So everybody's happy with new trucks with Neville stickers on the back. we have a new agreement down at the recycling center. We're selling our glass to Fulks Brothers, which is a nice little change. Before it was just a trucking company that shipped it out of town. Now we sell directly to Fulks, which they use in basically their sandblasting process. We saved a little jingle, and we're helping out a local contractor. We fixed these.
Let me interrupt you.
Oh, sorry.
So, in the past, glass, it was just limited to residential people. Since you're making money off this, are you willing to allow businesses to also? Just think about it. You
I
don't have
think
to tell
that's a
me.
question for the committee.
All right, keep going.
We fixed the stone retaining wall down at the cemetery, and according to Facebook, we stopped the next zombie apocalypse. It's a good thing. Evan Street design services proposals are due tomorrow, so I'm very excited about that, and I hope to be bringing that back to council to get going on the Evan Street project. So that is for the design services. Last week, I got an email from Madison about our from the Wisconsin Disaster Fund. So we submitted all of our expenses from last June's big rain windstorm. We thought that was not we were not going to get reimbursed for any of that. Well, it turns out that indeed we probably are. So they had a little turnover down there, admitted that they're behind, but I resubmitted some additional information, and it looks promising. So hopefully that comes around soon. Water side, our well rehab project started today. Well 3 is actually offline right now as we speak. So we'll work on well 3 first and then switch over to well 6. And of course, the back parking lot project is, the main focus of almost all the departments right now. We're still on track to get things done, to switch over to Union Street in August. We thank everybody for their patience, and we're working very hard. And so far, the project's been moving along fairly well, and we've gotten some very good weather. Before the project started, though, we were able to transplant some of the shrubs over to the rec center. Our facilities guy got a little crazy with his trimming last fall and accidentally just killed some of the bushes over there. So we moved some of the ones that were going to get removed from here. Russ and Josh and Casey all chipped in together and transplanted. So we got some new landscaping at the rec center for that. And finally, we're working on a energy saving grant through the Public Service Commission. Russ is working on that with our facilities. We just so happen to have our roof needing repair or replacement that's in our capital plan. We think that it will qualify within this energy saving grant. So he is applying for that, and keep your fingers crossed.
All right. Thanks, Justin. Any questions, comments for Justin? Let's go to Andrew. I see you have your nameplate now.
Thank you, Sandy. Appreciate it.
Parks and Rec.
Better than whatever this was. All right. Thank you, Mayor, council members. A couple things to go over tonight in our parks. You may have noticed yesterday, if you drove by Shadow Lake, that we had some divers out working to clear some aquatic invasive species that we have. They were going to get to both, but ran out of time, so they did do Shadow. We'll come back to Mirror Lake as we move forward. That work was done by Golden Sands, and a lot of, I'd like to say it was just them, but we have a lot of help from the Lake District members, Carol Elvery, people volunteering their time to make that happen. So it was pretty successful. They got a lot out of there. That came from a kind of a survey of the two lakes where they went through and found everything that they were looking for, mapped it all out, and kind of worked towards that. As far as that project that I've been talking about for a long time out at Swan Park with the cantilever covers over the bleachers. We were pretty much successful at drilling those holes 11 feet down out there. Josh cleaned them up on Monday a little bit, and I went out there today and they were pouring concrete. So once that concrete sets, you'll start seeing some stuff moving forward there as well. So that's finally kind of making some progress, which is good. The beach has a new toddler slide. So the toddler slide was the metal one that we had since I think we decided today all of us were in swimming lessons, a couple feet into the lake. That needed to be gotten rid of at the end of last season, and so we did replace that with an inflatable toddler slide that is up and running now. It's used a lot, and hopefully we haven't had too many issues with vandalism yet, and hopefully that kind of leads into maybe that's a direction we go in the future with that. As far as recreation, hiring process, we are down to 5 candidates, which we will interview next Tuesday in the morning, starting at 8 o'clock. We run through to lunch. We'll get through that, and if needed, we will do a second interview at some point in the process. So I'm hoping by that first meeting in August, we'll at least have a name for you, and possibly a start date at that point for my replacement as the rec program supervisor. So that's moving along nicely. We did get some good applicants. I think we had about 16 overall, 10 move forward to possible interviews, and now we're down to 5. So I think we'll find a good candidate out of those 5. Soccer had its first week out at the Waupaca High School practice soccer fields. It's a good partnership with the school to have those out there. It works well. Parking lot's a little small, but for the kids to have green grass and nice grass, especially this year, if we were playing out at Chain of Lake School, I'm pretty sure it would be very uncomfortable to do anything other than just walk on that grass out there. So it really works well for the kids, so we can put up with a little bit of parking issue. Baseball and softball are over. Their tournaments went very well at the end of the season to finish that off, and everything went really well out at Swan Park. We do still have some things at Swan Park, though. We have a 17U girls tournament this Saturday. In August, we have what's called a Waupaca Classic. It's a group from Waupaca that comes up here, and they use our facilities because we have the nicest facilities around. And they come up here and host a tournament here. And they were so happy last year, the first time they did it, they want to come back. We have the Foundry Picnic out there. I forgot today when we were talking in the meeting that there's also adult kickball again that's going to be out there on Sunday night. So again, you'll see a lot of activity hopefully for the rest of the summer out there at Swan Park. Senior Center, she has another brat fry this Friday. It was that successful. Apparently the first time they're having another one. So if you want to support the Senior Center, head over to Piggly Wiggly starting at 10:30 this Friday. They also will have a rummage sale on August 10th. Starting at 8:30, and the invite was put out there that if you have some junk that you need to get rid of, you can bring it a little bit before that, and they will try to sell that as well as a fundraiser for them. So if you have questions about that, get a hold of Sarah. She can let you know when and where to drop that stuff off. I know I have a lot of junk in my house that I will be dropping off for her. And the last thing, good news from the Senior Center, if you got to see the parade, you probably saw a very enthusiastic group doing some cardio drumming as they went down, and they got first place prize in the parade, which I don't know if that's a prize, but some bragging rights at least for the Senior Center. So congratulations to them. They put in a lot of time and effort on that. So thank you.
Wasn't your mother in on that?
She might have been. She had the crazy hat on. Don't put that in the record.
Any other comments or questions for Andrew? If not, we'll move on to our police chief, Brian Hosell.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. My report can be found on page 34. The police department and the school administrators have been talking for the past month and a half, 2 months in regards to school safety and going through some different plans. One of the things that we talked about was looking at a second police school liaison officer. We had met with the administrators and also part of the school board, and it was decided at that time that we're going to kind of push forward, and we're going to wait until the school board has to have a official meeting, and they'll go ahead and they'll present. But what we're looking at again would be a 75%, 25%. So 75% of the cost would be with the school, 25% would fall back onto the city and the police department. But that has to be approved through the school board, and I believe they have a meeting coming up at the end of July. They were going to have a meeting. And so we would look at, if everything goes through, of having a second officer at the beginning of school over at the middle school and elementary school. So it's been very easy to work with the administrators and with some of the board members. The other thing that that we're looking at doing is 2019. We're already looking at getting a new squad. I can happily tell you our squads are supposed to be delivered tomorrow that were ordered in October of last year. So we'll get both our cars tomorrow. So we're looking at 2019. In discussion with the staff and the recent snowstorms and everything that we've had during the wintertime, once in a while we have some difficulties responding to calls, even though these vehicles are all-wheel drives. Sometimes it's just difficult. So the idea came out as to us looking for a four-wheel drive pickup truck. So that's one of the items that we're looking at. It's a Ford F-150, and it would be a crew cab, pursuit rated. So Ford had just come out with something. So we're going to look in the cost and that are associated with this. Speed report with Berlin Street with the bridge being out, a lot of that traffic has been routed down onto Evans Street. And I know there's been a lot of talk and concerns in regards to speeds and safety. So we put up the speed board on June 19th and I collected data through July 3rd. On an average, during one day of traffic, just for one-way traffic, 1,252 vehicles just going one way on that road. In a span of 2 weeks, 17,532 vehicles were just going one way on that road. The average speed of those vehicles, I can happily say, was 26.27 miles per hour, with the 85% tile of those speeds being 29.31. So one of the things that we've been doing, because we know that sometimes these areas can be problems, especially with the construction, we also ran 24 and a half hours of radar in that area that included 23 traffic stops that ended up with 10 citations and 17 warnings given during that period. So the sign is working, and us being out there is also slowing them down. The last thing I have is we're looking at Saturday, August 18th. The police department, the sheriff's department, and the fire department are all partnering in a fundraiser. We're going to go out and try to play softball on that day, 4 o'clock in the afternoon at Swan Park. So it's going to be the police department and sheriff's department against the fire department. So if you want to come out and watch some of us older guys try to swing a bat, come out. Should be fun. That's all that I have.
All right. Thank you, Brian. Any questions? All right, let's move on to Josh, our IT.
Well, we started off last week with a failed phone system in this building. Long story short, very difficult to get support. The vendor we've been working with, their technician quit about a month ago, and they weren't able to be of that much help. They worked with me the best they could, and we got through it. Through troubleshooting, I borrowed a part from the police department's phone system, killed their phone system in the process. As of today, everything's back up and working. It's in next year's capital budget to replace the phone system. I'm thinking it's about 10, 11 years old. And it's not going to buy us a lot more time, but we're going to get the process to do that going now rather than waiting until next year. It's probably going to be a couple-month process to get through to evaluate vendors, do an RFP, et cetera. And we've got some wiring work that needs to get done in this building to prepare us for that. But we're going to start on that and hopefully get something a little sooner so that if we have another, hopefully we don't have another issue with the current system. This Sunday night, a couple of our file servers were hit with a ransomware virus. Got that all cleaned up, and we're back to normal. What concerns me, this is the first time I've dealt with this sort of virus where I haven't been able to detect where or how it got on there, so that's a little concerning. But as of today, I've seen nothing come back from that. We are taping our next Waupaca Local Live episode this Thursday night in the room behind you. We've got the band Home Alone coming in, so if anyone wants to see what that program's all about, you're invited to stop in and check it out. On the Waupaca Online side of things, we've got 14 customers in the northern part of the county. There's a lot of interest up there. There have been a couple handfuls of people we've turned away that we just can't get to. They're in a valley or surrounded by trees, but there's a lot of interest up there, and we continue to work on that part of the project and continue to work on some upgrades and some other enhancements down in this area of the county, but things have been going pretty well with the upgrade project, and we're moving along on there. That's all I've got.
All right. Thank you. What's your name? Josh. Thanks, Josh. Any questions, comments for Josh? Sorry, I wasn't gonna make fun of him today, but it just came out. All right, let's move on to Henry.
Mayor, Council, my report's on page 62, just a couple brief announcements. We do have a primary coming up on Tuesday, August 14th, so for our public and everyone watching, please come out to vote. The first responders group is official now. They're up and running. They've have, I believe, 4 or 5 responders now, and there's a couple that are in class that should be finishing up soon. My intent is to get the leadership in here maybe at September to sort of give you a little more of a picture of sort of how things are going. And then, as Kathy mentioned, the budget process has started for next year, and our next work session is Tuesday, August 7th, following the council meeting. And the topic on that session will be the transit system. And I believe, if you look at my monthly report, there is a calendar of kind of workshops in there. So please mark your calendar. We're trying to have those workshops after the first council meeting. Typically, that meeting has a little bit lighter agenda, and so just try to maximize your time when you're on council. So that's all I have.
All right. Thanks, Henry. Comments, questions? All right, let's move on to unfinished business then. We have a couple of second readings of some ordinances. We have ordinance 0818. This is a PUL, they're calling it Public Facility and Utility Lands Districts. And this is the second reading. Brendan, real quick, you want to just explain what this ordinance is for us?
Yep, as a follow-up to the annexation of the county highway garage property into the city of Waupaca, we had to place a permanent zoning on that parcel of land. We did not have one that was suitable for their development, so we created what's in your packet on page 145, which is 17295, which is the Public Facility and Utility Lands District.
All right, thank you. And this is the second reading, so people have had the opportunity to see the ordinance. I have not any comments. I don't know if any council has either, but we would be looking for a motion to approve.
I would move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Keelan, second by Fair, that we approve of ordinance number 0818. Any discussion? Sandy will call the roll.
Chuck Whitman,
Aye.
Mary Fair,
Aye.
Scott Perchatsky,
Aye.
Eric Olson,
Aye.
Dave Peterson,
Aye.
Lori Chestnut,
Aye.
Alan Keeland,
Aye.
and Steve Hackett.
Aye.
8 ayes, motion carried.
All right, we also have ordinance number 0918. This is permanent zoning placement on the Waupaca County Highway Department property. And this is also the second reading. Brennan?
Yes, this places the permanent zoning when we annex the property into the city of Waupaca. A temporary zoning of ag was required for the project. Within 1 year, we have to place a permanent zoning. Therefore, with the adoption of 17295 public and utility lands, we can place a permanent zoning on this property as PUL.
All right, so again, this is the second reading.
Correct.
Unless you have some concerns, we would be looking for a motion to approve.
Move to approve.
Second.
A motion by Olson, second by Chestnut, that we approve of ordinance number 0918. Any discussion? Sandy will call the roll.
Scott Perchatsky,
Aye.
Lori Chestnut,
Aye.
Mary Fair,
Aye.
Eric Olson,
Aye.
Alan Keeland,
Aye.
Dave Peterson,
Aye.
Steve Hackett,
Aye.
and Chuck Whitman.
Aye.
8 ayes, motion carried.
All right, let's move on to, thank you, Brennan.
Yep.
Let's move on to new business. We have a request by the Foundations for Living for the use of the City Hall Library front lawn for their third annual sleep out, 2018 And Darla, are you here? Darla Ray? Just give your name and address, Darla, for our records, please.
It's N3636 Maury Drive, Waupaca, 54981.
Thank you. And in your packet, everybody, before I interrupted, I did interrupt Darla Ray, but
It's okay.
on page 158 through 160, you have the information about the sleep out. You can give as much information as you'd like to, but I would just like to know, is it any different than last year's?
No, the only difference is the fact that Trinity Lutheran Church has said that they might want to come on board with us to do it. So with their youth, instead of having a 30-hour famine, they want to try the sleep out.
Okay.
And that would have plenty of chaperones. Otherwise, Chief Hozell will come and find me.
As far as the downtown project, Justin, this is July 21st, or September 21st, 22nd. Any issues there?
No, I don't believe so. We should be wrapped up by then. If anything, it'll be near the end of the project on Union Street, so we should have a project that's substantially complete, so it wouldn't pose, I don't think, a risk to any type of pedestrian traffic.
Council, any questions? Chief, you haven't had any issues in the first two?
No, everything's gone well, I believe. Is there reserve officers?
Yeah, we have one that stays the night.
Yeah, so they have a
almost
reserve
every night.
officer. We've never had an issue.
All right, so council would be looking for a motion to approve this request from Foundation.
So move.
Second.
Motion by Hackett, second by Keelan, that we approve of the request by Foundations for Living for the use of the City Hall Library front lawn for their third annual Sleep Out 2018, and the dates are September 21st and 22nd. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Henry, is this one of those where, now that it's running smoothly, this is just something your office can just,
Whenever you want to delegate that authority,
approve?
fine. I mean, with the picnic licenses, kind of allowed our office to do that. If it's the first time, I always bring it before you so you can see it. But if it's the same event, it just gets done administratively.
Okay. All right. I think that's something we could do. Let's move on to the aircraft hangar lot lease, hangar number 9, between the city of Waupaca and Ellen Voya. Paul Hagan is not here tonight. But if you look in your packet on page 161, see that it's just a normal request for the hangar lot lease. And the airport board was asking that we approve this lot lease for Ellen Voya.
So move. Second.
Motion by Hackett, second by Keelan, that we approve of the aircraft hangar lot lease for hangar number 8 between the city of Waupaca and Ellen Voya. Any discussion? Sandy will call the roll.
Steve Hackett,
Aye.
Lori Chestnut,
Aye.
Alan Keeland,
Aye.
Eric Wilson,
Aye.
Dave Peterson,
Aye.
Mary Fair,
Aye.
Scott Perchatsky,
Aye.
and Chuck Whitman.
Aye.
8 ayes, motion carried.
All right, let's move on. We have annexation, the KT Real Estate Holdings, LLC, County Road QQ, which is basically Quick Trip. The KT stands for Quick Trip. And this is a ordinance in its first reading. Brennan, you just want to explain this?
Yep, thank you, Mayor, members of council. This item starts on page 169 of your packet. The city received an annexation request from Quick Trip to annex in the former furniture store just to the south of their existing development on QQ and Highway 54. They plan a future expansion of their diesel canopy and relocation of their fill station tanks that are currently kind of in their drive lane as you come into the site. This is the first step in the process of actually annexing in the property into the city of Waupaca. We are working through some technical difficulties with their future expansion that are actually state regulated right now. But at least we'll annex the property into the city and start that process.
Okay, so this is the first reading. Although they're still working through the process of being able to annex the property, as Brennan has explained, we need to still keep moving forward with this, so we can get this on the books as soon as it's taken care of. So this will just be the first reading. We will have the second reading at our August meeting, August 7th. All right, next, actually, it's in your packet as an ordinance, but it's really just letting you know that Brennan wants to set up a
Public hearing.
public hearing on August 7th to put permanent zoning on this same property that he was just talking about, once it is annexed into the city. So just mark it down that we don't need a motion on this, but just mark it down that there will be a public hearing at 6 o'clock on August 7th to deal with the permanent zoning on this property. All right, next is Kathy. It's has to do with liability, property, contractor equipment, workers' comp, and crime insurance policies renewals. Kathy.
Thank you, Mayor. Council members, my report starts on page 179. Currently, we have the League of Wisconsin Municipalities Mutual Insurance Company and Chubb, and through the Horton Group, and United Heartland for workers' comp, and Liberty Mutual for crime. I did go out and get a quote for property insurance from the new municipal property insurance company, MPEC, and their rates were much lower and had more coverage. So I'm saving city some money by recommending that we change our property insurance. Otherwise, our modification for workers' comp is 80%, so we only pay 80% of our premium for workers' comp, and I believe our liability and auto physical damage is going up $1,400. So in essence, I have a savings of $3,300 in insurance premiums for the coming year. So I recommend staff recommendation is to change our property and contractor equipment insurance over to MPEC. Otherwise, keep everything else the same.
Okay, so we're looking for a change in contractor for, say that again to me real quick.
For property insurance
Okay,
from Chubb, and contractor equipment insurance from Chubb to municipal property insurance company, which is called MPEC, which is just for cities and villages in the state of Wisconsin.
okay, so you've heard Kathy's request. We'd be looking for, this is a contract, so we would have to take a roll call vote. We need a vote on the change on this. So be looking for a motion for this change.
I'll move to make the change.
Second.
Motion by Peterson, second by Hackett, that we approve of the changes that Kathy has requested. Insurance coverage. Any discussion? Sandy will call the roll.
Chuck Whitman,
Aye.
Alan Keeland,
Aye.
Scott Perchatsky,
Aye.
Steve Hackett,
Aye.
Eric Olson,
Aye.
Dave Peterson,
Aye.
Lori Chestnut,
Aye.
And Mary Fair.
Aye.
8 ayes, motion carried.
Pretty easy when she says she's going to save us money. All right, let's move on then to the Employee Personal Health Assessment Program Incentives Policy. Kathy?
Thank you, Mayor. This it begins on page 180 of the packet. We had in the past, when we increased the opt-out for those employees who do not go on our health insurance plan, to recommend or require all full-time employees to participate in the personal health assessment program. It is a voluntary program under our wellness, but we do incentivize those that are on our health insurance to take the test, and if they are, they get $750 in a health reimbursement account towards their deductible. And if their spouse is on our health insurance, they also get $750 if they participate in our in the PHA. We did find out from the Horton Group, our employee benefits consultant, that we can also incentivize our opt-out employees. So if they participate in the personal health assessment program, we will not reduce their annual amount by $750. And if they were a married employee that would have gone on our health insurance with a spouse, we would reduce their opt-out by $1,500. So instead of $5,000, they'd get $4,250 if they were single, or they would get $3,500 if they were a married employee. And this is all to get a better baseline of what kind of employees that we have with the possibility of coming back on our insurance. It also will help us in determining whether or not in the future, if self-insurance might be an option. So I think that it's more of a fairness thing for the employees that are on our health insurance. They have an incentive. Is the same thing would be with the opt-outs, is to incentivize their participation.
Okay, so you understand, Kathy's basically asking for you to change the policy so that it requires the spouse, if there is a spouse.
No, it only requires the employee, the full-time employee, if they're opt-out. Right now, we have it that the spouse and the employee who are on our insurance get the $750 and the $1,500. What we don't have is any incentivizing for those who opt out, who could come back on our plan, to incentivize them to take the PHA.
We're talking employee and spouse?
No, just employee. We cannot require the spouse.
Okay, so we're just talking about employees that could
Are on
opt
opt-out.
back in the future.
Right.
So you're just giving them an incentive.
To take the PHA.
That's a change. Think? Motion?
A question, do we have any provision for a couple who are not married? In other words, we refer to spouse, but do we have?
Under our policy, we have it that if they are living together and they're not married, because of the state of Wisconsin acknowledges same-sex marriages and that, you have to be married to get a family plan under our policy. You cannot just be living together, or trying to think of what the word I'm looking for, common law. So that's not available under our plan. So then that employee has a employee plus dependents if they have any children, which is a lower premium.
I've moved to approve.
Okay. I was wondering where you were going with that, but okay. Motion to approve by Keelan,
I'll second.
second by Chestnut, that we approve of the changes that Kathy has recommended, where employees that have opted out of our health insurance, that they still get incentive for taking the health assessment program. Any discussion? Sandy will call the roll.
Mary Fair,
Aye.
Steve Hackett,
Aye.
Alan Keeland,
Aye.
Lori Chestnut,
Aye.
Dave Peterson,
Aye.
Eric Olson,
Aye.
Chuck Whitman,
Aye.
and Scott Perchatsky.
Aye.
8 ayes, motion carried.
Excuse me. I think the term we were looking for was domestic partners. Yeah. I couldn't think of it either. It just came to me.
Next, we have City Hall Square Construction Engineering Service. Justin.
Thank you, Mayor. So not too long ago, you approved the bid for the construction square construction and City Hall Square construction, excuse me. And then before that was the design services for the City Hall Square construction services. In that original design services agreement, which was last April, there was no allocation or I guess budget set aside for construction services. And it's not typical to see that always in a design. You usually keep them separate. And the reason is for that is just because of the nature of how projects can turn out. Once construction, the bidding happens, then you have a better feel of how the road's going to be built. So here I put them both in there because I was hoping to kind of clarify the separation. So with this project, it was better that we did wait, not include that in the original design because it went through many changes. So it would have been, if we would have had to put a task and a fee to it, we probably would have had to have changed it through a change order. Anyway, so here we are, and looking at the project, we have two alternatives. So we have multiple staging. It just increased the complexity of the project. We felt that SCH would help us with the pre-construction conference, coordinating all the contractors, all the utilities together, ensuring that the insurance coverages were there, issuing the notice to proceed, needing them in a short time frame to help us out there. Furthermore, the complexity of the curb and gutter alignment, I mean, it's out there. We have these bump outs. It's a whole new elevation, height-wise, vertical and horizontal. We don't have the tools to lay that out. I mean, we could come somewhat close, but we need somebody with a surveying background to lay that out. So we have in there time for a visit for a surveyor to come to lay out all the curb and gutter lines. And from there, we can take it off, or city crew can take it from there. And then finally, effort to help us review and ensure that our electrical components are there as well. We have special lights that we are taking over, so they're decorative lights. They're not your standard lights that we would see through WPS, so we need to ensure that they're the ones that we're looking for. They have all the capabilities that we're looking for. And also in the future, when we build onto Main Street, they're compatible with DOT specifications. They will work with our future lights out there. So I guess kind of wrapping it all up, we're looking for an additional contract with SCH to help us with these construction items, to help us based on the complexity and the nature of this project. So not sure if I explained it well. Certainly open to questions or comments.
Since construction's already going on, are they already doing some of these things or have done some of these?
Yeah, some of the things that have already been completed. So we kind of have a gentleman's agreement going right now. And most of it, though, is in the future. We didn't have a council meeting first part of July, so we wanted to get it in around then. We couldn't get it in. We had definitely some negotiation that happened, so we had a number of iterations before we got here. So yeah, there's a slight bit of a delay on this one.
Well, that answers my question. We've already sort of gotten their services, so we owe them some money already. What you're saying?
Go ahead.
I'd like to actually make the council aware that Justin has the skill set. That's why this contract is at the level it is. It could be higher, but he brought confidence to the table. He said, I think I can do it working with Roger. So I want to thank him because he's saved us some money because of his experience with roadway construction, that kind of thing. And so, um,
Thank you.
So remember we had this discussion, and I'm asking this question probably more of Kathy, but we had this discussion because we were over budget on this project. How, was this part of the final agreement that we agreed to pay? Or is this gonna be an additional amount?
This
that
is
we'd
an
have to come-
additional amount to SCH.
So where are we getting this money from?
We put away in the project, and I don't know if Justin was going, $70,000 of contingency for change orders. So of that, we would use of that 70,000, the 22 that we need for the contract, and hope that we don't have any change orders that go over $50,000 about.
We were pretty low on the contingency to begin with, right? But you feel that we're still gonna be all right?
Yes, sir.
I think it's important that when we do things like this, that our addition, to what our budget is that we put in there where the money's gonna come from. Okay?
Did say that.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, let's make sure that we
Okay.
explain that to everybody. You do understand. Okay? So if you approve this, the money would be coming out of the contingency fund that's been placed there. It's to not exceed $22,500.
So move.
Second.
By Hackett, second by Keelan, that we approve of the agreement with SEH in an amount not to exceed 22.5. Those monies would come out of the contingency fund. Any discussion? Sandy will call the roll.
Lori Chestnut,
Aye.
Mary Fair,
Aye.
Chuck Whitman,
No.
Alan Keeland,
Aye.
Steve Hackett,
Aye.
Dave Peterson,
Aye.
Eric Olson,
Aye.
and Scott Perchatsky.
Aye.
7 ayes, 1 no, motion carried.
Thank you, Justin. Kathy, thank you for clarifying. Okay, we have a couple of appointments. We have Margot Deek and Audrey Rosine, who are staff would like to be appointed to the Emergency Planning Committee, and I am recommending that. And then also Steve Tomaszewski to the Library Board. How'd I do?
Great.
All right.
the spelling?
Yeah, to the Library Board. So I am recommending that. I would need a motion to approve those 3 recommendations.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Chestnut, second by Keelan, that we approve of these 3 appointments. Discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. Henry, this was something that came out last night, I think, but it's just talking about the street closures. You want to hit
Yeah,
that?
sir. I don't know, I was thinking when I was doing the agenda, I didn't put Sandy put the actual closures together. I did state in there are some construction going on that's affecting the bike route. And even though the bike route is changing through town, the street closures really doesn't change because of the run portion of the event. So the cover memo was distributed last night, but we'd be seeking closure of Main Street from Badger to South Park with all cross streets closed for the kids triathlon, and that would be from 5:45 p.m. to 7. And then on Saturday, 6:30 a.m. to 11 a.m., South Main Street from Lake to South Park, Lake Street from South Main to Berlin, and then Berlin Street, Lake to Park Avenue South. And then Washington Street would be Badger to Lakeside Parkway would close at 7 a.m. for the duration of the event till about 11 a.m. Again, same street closures you've always approved, but we're dealing with a bike route right now. I think we've solved it. right around the corner.
All right, so Henry is asking, or staff is asking, that we approve the street closures for the triathlon, which is going to be August 17th and August 18th. Motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Olson, second by Peterson, that we approve of the street closure request for the triathlon. Discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. We have resolution number 1415. This is a resolution supporting the permanent reauthorization of the federal land and water conservation fund. Henry?
Yeah, a colleague of mine at the meeting that Kathy presented, was on a panel, has asked the administrators across the state to bring this to their governing bodies. The feds are in the midst of putting together their budgets, and apparently this funding, Land Water Conservation Fund, is at risk. This has been a program that's been around for 50 years or more. I can tell you the city of Waupaca benefited tremendously from these dollars through the years, because this money comes into the CNR and they give it out as stewardship grants and other types of grants that we've gotten in the past. So I felt it was reasonable to ask you to consider it, and if you approve it, it would be distributed to basically our federal elected.
All right, so you can see the resolution, which is on page 198. If you're okay with that resolution, it was in your packet, so you had the opportunity to read it. We'd be looking for a motion to approve this resolution.
So moved. Second.
By Keelan, second by Peterson, that we approve of resolution number 1450, 2018. Any discussion? Sandy will call the roll.
Alan Keeland,
Aye.
Lori Chestnut,
Aye.
Dave Peterson,
Aye.
Mary Fair,
Aye.
Chuck Whitman,
Aye.
Scott Perchatsky,
Aye.
Steve Hackett,
Aye.
and Eric Olson.
Aye.
8 ayes, motion carried.
All right, and then we have a safety policy for the city shared ride taxi program. Henry, you?
Yeah, this is on page 199. We receive federal transit money for subsidizing our service. Kathy and I participated in the audit of our taxi service in mid-May. Part of the action plan as a follow-up to that audit, we're required to adopt a safety policy, sort of what our philosophy is about safety. We're the grant recipient, so we have to have the policy, but this would be something that we would have our contractor, would be following and would be required to follow. This is a template that the DOT transit section provides to us. So it's pretty much boilerplate. I put the city, Waupaca in all the appropriate places. But it's important. It says that, we value safety of not only, the people working with the system, but all the people that utilize it, our riders. So recommend your passage.
Motion?
So moved. Second.
By Keelan, second by Peterson, that we approve of the City of Waupaca's Wisconsin Safety Management Policy for the City Shared Ride Taxi Program. Discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. Page 201 of your packets, the license report for the bartender's operator's license. As always, it's pending approval by the chief and any fines that are owed. We'd be looking for a motion to approve.
So moved.
A motion by Fair,
Second.
second by Chestnut, that we approve of license report number 1413. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Against? Motion carried. No, we don't have discussion item, but that does bring up under communications, recommendations of the mayor. We are going to have something for this item at our August 7th meeting that has to do with the transit. right?
Right, I do a work session following.
Okay, so after the council.
Yeah, I'm not seeking any action, it's just kind of a transit 101. I don't know if we take a real deep dive in how it's funded and ridership.
Well, and it's probably even more important too, because each year we are, as city taxpayers, having to pay more and more to supplement our taxi service in town. So I think it's a good idea for us to get a take on it from both Henry and also from Kathy, on how that affects us. So I think it's a good thing. I know Brennan has told me tonight already that he's going to request a closed session at our next meeting also. So might be a little longer meeting, although we won't have the department heads discussion at that meeting. So it should equal out. Be prepared. We do have that public hearing too that starts at 6 o'clock, and then council will be right after that. So maybe a little longer meeting. Anything else for the good of the team here?
To adjourn?
Motion by Keelan, second by Olson, that we adjourn till our next regular scheduled meeting, which is Tuesday, August 7th, 2018, subject to call. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. Thanks, everybody, for attending, watching. Have a safe drive home. We are adjourned at 7:17 PM. Thank you.